Oh, hey there. Welcome, everyone, to the Food and Movies Podcast. This is your host, Paul. That's my friend, Jeremy. This is the podcast where we investigate the intersection between popular films and the food in them. Jer, what is the movie of this week?
Well, it may be a controversial film because of the director, and leading man, but we are doing Woody Allen's movie, Annie Hall.
Yes, we are. 1977, Annie Hall, the seminal anti-rom-com that intellectuals, pseudo-intellectuals, hipsters, hippies, liberals, and anyone who considered themselves cool or smart found that it changed their entire conception of what a romantic comedy could be. Whew, man, this was a good one. This was a really good one, man.
Yeah, it really had a lot in it. Like there's so much to unpack from a film side of it. And you're the film guy, but I mean, it reminded me, if you look at these movies from the 70s, it had elements of like dark stuff, like Harold and Maude kind of stuff. And then it had like, it's just like, you could see things that it almost felt like it influenced things like Seinfeld in a lot of ways.
Oh yeah.
There were a lot of just throwaway scenes about nothing, a lot of like, New York kind of thing. Like he's a New York film director. He's kind of the New York film director. So this was like a love story about New York as much as it was a love story between two people in a lot of ways. But yeah, your thoughts. Give me the rundown here.
So for the people listening at home who are new, Jeremy and I will first give our initial thoughts of the movie before we go into investigating all of the food in the movie in a chronological way. And then after we do that, we'll give our parting thoughts and food awards for the movie. So my initial thoughts, I saw Annie Hall when I was a teenager, really liked it. I had not revisited it until now. I don't think I've ever rewatched it until now. And, as a grown man, it really, I found it much better as a mature person watching Annie Hall. So much happened in this movie that I can now relate to as a grown up,
Yeah.
I don't know if you found that, but I really found that. And also the influence that that the movie had from French New Wave and also from Italian neorealism, Fellini, Godard, all those pretentious guys. I could see it more clearly now. And also, we're going to get into it as we start talking about the food. All of the influences, all of the things that this movie influenced later on, which I can now see, and I think we can all see. But it had so many, as ad guys, we're both ad guys. It had so many ideas in it.
Yeah.
It was just chock full. Like the idea per minute of this movie was just really off the charts. It was just one thing after another thing after another thing, one cool thing after another cool thing. And those are kind of my initial thoughts. What else do you have to say about it?
I was like completely impressed with, because Woody Allen, we've talked a few times about these directors where you're like, that is a XYZ movie, like that is a Baz Luhrmann movie, that is Woody Allen. There are other people that shoot like him, and there are other people that have his kind of, it's almost like a no style. Like it's very kind of go ahead, sir. No, that's something I would love to hear your take on. But then it's almost like a really good student film. I don't know.
That's funny you mentioned that. Yeah, you're right. It almost doesn't work.
It almost doesn't work. But then there are scenes like when he's driving with Annie Hall for the first time in the VW.
Yeah.
And it's shot clearly like with a handheld camera in the passenger seat, but the way that's shot like gave me anxiety.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it was an anxiety inducing shot, and I couldn't stop watching it. And then there were some scenes where he did the subtitles, like what he was trying to think of.
I had forgotten about the subtitles, and I was just so tickled by it.
And he's just doing what he wants to give you like the more perspective into what's happening on screen. And there's almost no rhyme or reason for it. Like he's just trying things. That's how it feels to me. But I know he's a meticulous guy in the way he shoots and the way he wants his films. So I know it's not that, but he's so flawless at trying to make it seem like he's just haphazardly put it together. Mm-hmm. Like, it's amazing to me. I really enjoyed it, actually.
Yeah. Oh, and we should probably give a disclaimer at some point. So, disclaimer: we understand Woody Allen's canceled. We both get that. We're going to try. We're going to attempt to dissect this film as a piece of art and him as an artist. We're going to try to remove ourselves from what he did or was accused of doing.
Yeah,
we get that people might be offended by that, and hopefully we're not going to get canceled or pre-canceled because no one listens to this podcast. So
I mean, look, if the 4 people that watch this want to stop watching it, we get it.
Yeah, 2 of whom are my parents, by the way.
Okay, well, if you lose your parents, we're screwed.
Yeah, that's true.
Even my mom was like, I don't really get this, but all right.
Hey, shout out to Jared's. Hey, hello. What's your mom's name?
Penny.
Hey, Penny. Good to see you. Good to hear from you. Leave us a comment if you can.
She won't be watching this.
Okay. So that is our pre-cancellation disclaimer on Woody Allen.
Trigger warning. A trigger warning, so to speak. If you are triggered by Woody Allen and praise of his filmmaking ability, this one may not be for you. And, we apologize, obviously, but we can't ignore the fact that this is a film, this is a piece of art, and we can't not dive in and see it because that's just who we are. It doesn't mean we agree with anything that he's done or not done or whatever. We're not going there.
Right. We don't condone any of his activities off the movie set, but I will say this though. I do have a theory about filmmakers who have a style. I really think that filmmakers' personalities, their style is a reflection of their personalities.
Yeah.
So you see Woody Allen's movies, they're just so jam-packed with ideas and thoughts and, musings about psychology and philosophy and literature. Like, you can tell the guy, he's one of these guys, like he's first and foremost a writer. And as a writer, you can tell he's just an incredibly curious person and he's just a voracious reader, right? And that comes across in his style. His mind is going a mile a minute. It's going from here to there to there. Different things are being connected. So the idea of style as a reflection of personality, I really think comes through with this film and all of his movies, actually. And I think we should just take a moment to understand the prolificness of this dude. I mean, he has literally made a movie a year since, I think, 1973.
Yeah.
Written and directed by him every single year. Like, my God. What the hell?
Is the term prolificness?
We're going to make that a t-shirt.
Prolificity. No, but yeah, you're right. He is very prolific. That's a good term for him. Which has neither a positive or negative connotation, depending on, you could be a prolific serial killer.
Yes.
But he does, you're right. He makes a lot of movies. He has a style, and even in some of his bigger films, like his Midnight in Paris movie, it still has that same kind of Woody Allen-ness. They're almost, these movies they have a neuroses to them.
Yeah. That
actually matches his neuroses. It's like I go to Seinfeld with it because Seinfeld was also that kind of neuroses of another brilliant kind of guy, Larry David. Right? There's a neuroses there, and you really feel it. And I think that's a combination of all the thoughts he does have in his mind and all the kind of the people he brings in, especially in this movie where, that couple where it's like, I don't have an original thought in my head, and neither do I.
Yeah, the waspy couple.
Yeah, and that's why we work, because, that's, you see people, he almost like, and they did a scene where him and Annie Hall were sitting and commenting on people, and people do. My wife and I do it all the time. We say,
"Oh, I love doing that. Love it."
You pick people out and you make assumptions on them, and probably they're true because a lot of books can be judged by their cover. Probably a lot of it goes a lot deeper than we think, but it's still funny. It's still entertaining. It's still a hobby, right? And it seems like he was doing that in this movie. Like the guy standing behind him in the movie who was just talking about Marshall McLuhan, and then he pulls in Marshall McLuhan. That actually made me laugh because I've wanted to do that so many times.
Oh, God,
and I'm sure people want to do that with us.
Oh, absolutely, man. Oh, God damn. Who puts Marshall McLuhan in their movie for a cameo? That must be the only one. Let's be honest.
Yeah. Well, this movie had a lot of weird kind of, Paul Simon in there.
Paul Simon coming in.
A lot of interesting people kind of show up, and so it was, it was a lot of fun.
Oh, so much fun. There was never a second of this movie where I wasn't just fully entertained and engaged.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then me as a Jew,
talk about it, buddy.
And I want to save a lot of this for the food because I think this is a driving plot of the food in the movie.
And also I identify as I think Indians are brown Jews, so please continue.
Yeah. But there are a lot of like very stereotypical Jewish tropes, and then stereotypical within the Jewish community that maybe the non-Jew may not know about or may not understand. So there were a lot of kind of jokes that I found funny that maybe my partner Megan, she didn't find that funny because she just it's not part of her like her background. Like she just doesn't. Yeah. She gets it because I talk about it or because I kvetch about it, but she doesn't like. She's never experienced that. So there's a lot of kind of Jewish experience in this movie, which I find very funny as well.
Oh, we're going to get into it, buddy.
Yeah. But save a lot of it for the food.
Yeah. On the topic of prolific, what was the word we called? Prolificness or prolific?
Prolificity.
Prolificity. Along with making a movie a year for what seems like 50 years straight, writing and directing, he also has written, I think, 16 plays.
Wow.
And he has also written, it looks like 7 pieces of prose, I guess, essays, comedy essays. And he also, as he was a stand-up comedian before he was a filmmaker, and he put out 6 comedy albums. And he has played the jazz clarinet every single Monday of his life since, I think, 1972, never missing a Monday, unless he was shooting somewhere. So this dude's got some energy, man. I mean, it's truly impressive, the output of creativity this dude has put out. So shout out to his creativity, not his personal life. Shout out to his creativity.
We're not going there, but he's the kind, like, I'm a writer by trade. He's the kind of writer I kind of want to, without not personal life once again. Yeah. He's the kind of writer I want to be, like, that's just, it's almost a compulsion.
Mm-hmm.
Like clearly he has to make things at all times.
Yes.
Like he's compulsively doing it. Me, I can turn my brain off and watch football on a Sunday and be totally fine with that, not like writing down my thoughts or creating a poem or whatever. Like I don't do that. I'm not that kind of writer. But he is. And I'm jealous of that in a lot of ways because if I could be that, I'd be making millions of dollars.
Yeah. I mean, there is kind of like a weird, like Woody Allen notoriously has expounded on his fear of death and his existential dread. It's one of the main things that drives his personality.
Yeah.
And I do have kind of a theory that if he stops making movies, he will die. Like really? This is like some witch put a spell on him and said, if you stop making movies, you're gonna die. So this is why he has continued making movies every single year without stop.
So since his cancellation, has he made, what movie did he make?
The last movie he made was, I forget the name of it. It's the festival, Rifkin's Festival.
Okay, I haven't seen that yet.
Yeah, he made that, and now he's making another. He made another one after that. Yeah. So Rifkin's Festival, he was like almost fully canceled, and then he was being canceled, and then he got another one out of the bag, and now I believe he's fully canceled, so he's not making movies anymore, and I think he's switching to writing. I'm not sure what he's going to write though. He's switching to full-time writing now.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure he could make movies. I mean, if we talk about people who've been canceled, CK just put out a movie, and he self-produced it. I'm sure Woody Allen has enough money to do that if he wants. It's just, will he get the people to star in it? But does he need them? I don't know. because he's that good a filmmaker that I'm sure he can get certain people. You know, there are the people that are into the canceling, and there are people that aren't into the canceling. Like, maybe dip on that side. I don't know. I don't want to make any political statements or get in trouble. But I don't know. It's just like, I wonder if this is my just musing. I wonder if this is going to stop him from making movies.
I think it actually, according to him, he has stated that he is no longer making movies and he's switching into writing because, writing is something you don't need anyone's permission to do, or you don't need any actors to cast, basically. So you really can't be canceled from writing, I guess.
Yeah. He can just do what he wants, I guess. And I'm sure he's got plenty of money. So,
well, he once said that he made more money selling his home in New York City than he ever made from his movies combined, the one real estate deal. So
must have been a lovely home.
Yeah, I think it was like a 15,000 square foot 1-bedroom apartment sold for, I don't know, whatever stuff sells for in New York, man. It's ridiculous out there.
$40 million. Yeah. New York is crazy like that. And,
oh God,
but it's a great city.
All right. Moving on to the meat of the Food and Movies podcast sandwich. We are going to chronologically go through all of the food that appears in the seminal romantic comedy Annie Hall, starting with the very first line of the movie, very first scene of the movie, where Woody Allen throws down the gauntlet and explains that his philosophy of life, basically. He says, there's 2 Jewish women eating in the Catskills restaurant. One woman says that the food in this place is terrible. The other one says, I know, and such oh shit, I messed that up. She says, I know, and such small portions. Very Jewish joke, very Woody Allen joke. Yeah. Very much, I think, truly expresses in a very short amount of dialogue his philosophy on life and the philosophy of this movie and the philosophy of his character. Yeah. What are your thoughts on him opening up the movie with food and with existential dread, all wrapped into one terrifically poignant joke?
Perfect way to do it, through a joke too. No, I think that you can, from that, you can get what the movie is going to be about. I think he kind of opens up the plot and his character too, because it's a character-driven piece, and you get a lot of what he is going to be like, that, you know, that neuroses he's going to have from that one joke. There was another joke coupled with it, I think, in the upfront as well.
Yeah, there was this. It was the joke that says that I would never be a member of a club.
Right.
I would never be a part of a club that would have me as a member.
Right. And I think he
which is approach to women, basically.
Yeah. And he brings that up again at some point in the film too. That one comes back. But the portion thing is interesting. And I think, you know, to on a baseline level, you know how you feel when you go into a meal and it's just not enough. Like I have some Italian friends and there are some fancy Italian restaurants near me, and I asked them, like, oh, have you been to this restaurant? And they're like, yeah, portions are way too small. That's not how I eat. You know, but
that's an important thing with Italians.
Yeah, they want to be. It's part of a culture, right? There's a and Jews to a lot of extent as well. And I think there are a lot of food scenes that will explain this better than I could in this movie. So we'll go there, and I'll give you that. I'll give you that. But and people from the U.S. I just came back from the U.S. and as a Canadian, we have smaller portions. But as a metaphor for life, it becomes almost this weird kind of poetry and this kind of existential dread filled notion that is fascinating and is very Woody Allen.
Well, as a Jewish person, the Jewish community, humor and existential dread are both a very big part of your culture, I feel like, you know, just from the history of persecution and things like that. And the fact that never having a homeland and always being on edge, that something at any moment could go wrong where, you know what I mean? Like things could go bad at any moment. And so there is this gallows humor, I think, that Jewish people have, which I absolutely adore, by the way.
Yeah.
It's so nice.
it's endearing in a lot of ways. But with especially with what's happening now with a certain American celebrity and all that stuff. I'm not going to get too far into it, but
whew, talking about canceling people.
I know we're really this episode is all about it. I'm not going to get too far into it because I don't think, but that type of stuff, you can see the people that are afraid. There's and always an undercurrent of fear, and then you can see the people that are using it to make kind of some sort of comedy out of it. Mm-hmm. And I think that is a very culturally healthy way to deal with things, as opposed to getting upset and going down that road and playing that whatever. I'm not even going to get into it, but I think if as a culture and as a community, we've been able to joke about it, and we've been able to joke about ourselves within that space, and it's interesting. And Woody Allen's always kind of done it, and he does it a lot in this movie as well. So you're right. There's a kind of an endearing quality to it that, but then does it make it okay to make bad jokes about Jewish people? I don't know. And I don't care. I don't know. This is getting kind of dark. This is getting very Woody Allen.
No, but it is a part of Woody Allen. It is a part of Jewish heritage. That humor has come out of the darkness that has been faced by the culture, which I think informs a lot, and I think it really adds to the entire culture of the world because of the movies and the pieces of art that have been created by Jewish people out of humor. I think humor is probably the best way of cultural therapy in dealing with trauma.
I agree.
You see it in the black community. You see it in the Jewish community.
Yeah.
And any other cultures that have experienced generational trauma like that, I do think that one of the best things to come out of it, if you can, is to have some kind of a sense of humor about it. So,
yeah. And in this day and age, it's probably more important now than ever. Without making too much of a political statement. Also, it's a New York thing.
Oh, New York people are hilarious.
There's they just have this. It's how the people are like, oh, the British have their dry humor. New Yorkers have their own humor too, and even people that came from I've worked with a lot of people that came from other places and moved to New York, and within a year of living in New York, they start to exude that, and it's just like this weird, creative, funny type of humor that may not appeal to people in other parts of the country, but it's interesting. It's like when people make generalizations about people from Toronto, like we're cold and we're distant or whatever, which is very true. It's like, but when we go to other places, we're warm and we're happy because we love that. But we also want to be able to shut that off and just like be cold and distant, and it's great. And New York's the same way in a lot of ways, but it's funny. The people that have moved there, people move there and they get more creative.
Yeah. The times I've been to New York, the people I've spoken to people just to get directions. I'll speak to some guy who's like a traffic cop or something like that. People with blue collar jobs, you'll talk to them and these are clever, funny people. And they're just regular working class people. But the level of funniness, I think, in New York is 2 or 3 notches above any other big city in the world for some reason. Unclear how that happened, but it's something. All right, moving on. Minute 3, flashback. Woody Allen's character, a young Alvy Singer, is eating tomato soup, which shakes as the Coney Island roller coaster goes above his apartment. And this is a visual display of the nervousness which contributes to the neuroticism he feels as an adult. Tomato soup. How do you feel about tomato soup? I personally adore it.
Yeah, I'm a big
with a grilled cheese.
Yeah.
Tomato soup and a grilled cheese might be one of the most comforting meals ever. And I think that tomato soup in that situation as an expression of nervousness is a nice contrast.
Yeah, he's nervous, but he's got that comforting. Whenever Megan is sick, I go out, I get 5 cans of Campbell's tomato soup and bread and like Wonder Bread, like and cheese.
Bro, you are the best goddamn husband I've ever heard of. The way you take care of your wife is truly something to behold. Everyone should look at. You should write a book or something about how to be in a happy marriage. It's just incredible.
She takes care of me too. It's
okay.
There's marriage is a whole thing.
Yes.
But you do those things, the tomato soup and the thing, so that when you need an edge on her later, you got it. Oh, who made you tomato soup? Now you got to.
Oh, nice.
No,
you're playing chestnut checkers, bro.
Yeah,
I love this.
It's miles. I'm thinking miles ahead. No, but as just to tomato soup as a comfort food when I'm sick, tomato soup, grilled cheese, that's the way to go all the time.
Oh, really? You're not into the chicken soup?
No,
when you're sick.
I go
You're
there
into tomato
too.
soup?
I go.
Okay.
We Jewish penicillin, of course.
Of course. Isn't that matzo ball soup?
Yeah, matzo ball soup or with like
chicken soup?
an egg noodle will suffice.
Okay.
And I've even used some pasta in a pinch. If
there you go.
You need some substance, right? Because tomato soup is just broth. But the Jewish community makes the best chicken soup. I'm sorry. I've had like chicken soup.
Is there a special name for it?
Chicken soup, matzo ball soup.
Just matzo ball soup. Okay, all right. But
that broth, I don't know what we're doing. I don't actually have the recipe. I buy it from the kosher convenience stores or the kosher grocery. And when I'm sick, that's kind of what makes me feel better, as well as the tomato soup and the grilled cheese as well. But this was a great device, you're right, of showing his nerves, showing his neuroses, but then doing it in a way that had the calming element of the soup, which I thought was very interesting.
Yeah, it was a great visual display because the water or the liquid in the soup is shaking, the apartment is shaking, but he's still calmly eating it. So I think food as a calming thing for the character, while visually expressing nervousness, the apartment, his environment is nervous, but he's trying his best to be calm by eating this delicious soup. Really well illustrated as far as the visual storytelling technique, all around, by the way.
Yeah, really nice. And I like that he lived under the Coney Island roller coaster. That's great.
Oh, I read on Wikipedia that was added during the location scouts. It wasn't in the script, so that was kind of a yeah, absolutely.
It totally added to it, even with the camera shake. I thought it was good.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. Man, there's so many ideas in this movie.
Yeah,
just really inspiring. Minute 5, during the montage, which explains his neurotic childhood, his mother is scolding him while peeling carrots, and the way she peels the carrots is actually pretty violent. I mean, it looks really scary the way she's peeling the carrots. So I think the act of peeling the carrots while talking, while scolding him about his childhood, was a great use of food preparation as a visual cue or a mnemonic to show what she's to go add to what she's saying.
The overthinking hat comes on, and I'm like, is she
Let's go.
Is she emasculating him and emasculating?
I thought the same thing. I thought the same.
I don't know.
Is this Freudian? Tell me right now.
Well, I wouldn't put it past him. Okay. I totally wouldn't put it past him. But
he is a Freudian, by the way. He's very much into Freud.
Yeah, oh, for sure. So there is your Jewish mother kind of eviscerating you or emasculating you. And then while the phallic symbol of the carrot.
Yeah. So you're saying the carrots are not a carrot in this?
Sometimes a carrot's a carrot. Sometimes it's getting circumcised. I don't know.
Also, man, there's too many things. I mean, the circumstantial evidence would say those carrots are his penis, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you tell me.
Yeah, I mean,
are those carrots? We need to make a stand on this.
That's not necessarily how a circumcision works, thankfully. But yeah, I think that they're like, if I were going to get into like that, once again, if we're ever going to do merchandise, we need to come up with an overthinking hat. But
carrot peeler,
yeah, and a carrot peeler. Shaving the skin off. There is an element of emasculation there, which I thought was interesting.
Okay, so we're going to go ahead and say that his mother shaving the skin off of a carrot while she's scolding him for something he did in his childhood. We're going to go ahead and say that is a Freudian reference to emasculation. We're just going to throw that down.
It's also a culturally Jewish thing. Like, Jewish mothers are stereotypically overbearing. It can be emasculating. Will, in some elements, will attempt to dominate your life, will try and set you up with people. There's a mama's boy thing within the Jewish community for sure.
Yep.
But it's kind of it's one of these, it's not 100% true. And it's also just kind of more of a comedic thing. Like, we use it as a catalyst for humor.
It is very funny, I will say.
Yeah, it's incredibly funny. And it's also, there's a dark element to it. So, but as time progresses, it's changed. Like, newer generations of Jews probably don't experience it as much as as this generation did, the one that's being explored in the movie.
Yeah, I think, because you're right, the neurotic, overbearing Jewish mother, not neurotic, but the overbearing Jewish mother as a cliche just got so much cultural traction in the 70s and 80s that I think now Jewish mothers are probably aware of it and are trying
and they're
to
going the other
actively
way.
Yeah. I think we've reached peak Jewish mother in the 70s, 80s, and now we're kind of regressing to the mean, I would say.
But that is, like you said, you misspoke with neurotic, but that phenomenon generated neuroses in kids.
Yeah.
Right? That's kind of the theory. That's kind of the humor behind Woody Allen in a lot of ways, especially in this film. His neuroses, and I think this carrot emasculation thing kind of maybe sets that up a little bit in a very subtle way.
Well, listen, if it takes a overbearing Jewish mother to create someone like Woody Allen, I say do it. I say, Jewish moms out there, start bossing your kids around. Yeah. Start,
just intervene in their lives in every way, shape, and form.
Put them on edge early and often if you want your kid to be.
But never praise them. Don't do
never. No. Never. Okay. We got a lot of traction out of his mother peeling a carrot. More than I thought we would.
We're really, but this is Woody Allen, right? There's not a lot of food. There's not a lot of food, but there's a lot to be said about the food.
There's a lot to be said about it. Okay, so Albie is going along his life. He's basically the movie is about Albie, and he's going through somewhat of a midlife crisis. He is not married. He's trying to find love. He's musing about love, death, all the things you muse about when you are going through a midlife crisis, especially for a neurotic Jew in New York City, I suppose. And he finally meets Diane Keaton's character, who is called Annie Hall, who some may say, there's a lot of, we should address this actually, there's a lot of debate as to whether Annie Hall is a manic pixie dream girl. Are you aware of that trope? The manic pixie dream girl?
I'm not.
Oh, you're not? Okay.
No, please.
So I believe around the 90s specifically, there was a trope developed in romantic comedies written mostly by men about this certain type of woman that the depressed protagonist male would meet, who just seemed to be this like free-spirited, and there was a lot of these. There was, I guess, the one that I noticed most was in Cameron Crowe's movie with Orlando Bloom. I forget what it's called. Kirsten Dunst was the romantic interest, and he's in an empty plane by himself trying to sleep, and she is this stewardess who's just like all up on him, just like, hey, what's going on? You look cool, and let's play. Almost like a dog trying to play with them, you know what I mean? And I was like, this person does not exist.
No.
There's no way. And if this person does exist, she does this with everybody, not you, bro. Okay, so it's like, it was purely a character created out of the imagination of depressed male writers.
Yeah. But did it work as a, like, this is new to me, but this is interesting. Like, I'm
okay.
But I get it. Cause
go ahead.
I've seen a lot of movies where that is a thing. Like, the guy is, like there's like a kind of a deep existential funk happening with the dude. And then he's pulled out of it by this like bubbly
whirlwind of a free-spirited chick,
Tom Hanks probably built a career on that, but I'm wondering if that's a male-driven trope, but as a rom-com, is that based on? Because all right, sidebar for a second.
All right, let's go.
You take a book like, or a movie series like Twilight, right? And it's a very, the female character is very underdeveloped. She's actually very open. She's in every girl, right? And all the males are described to the letter, right?
Yeah.
And this helped, develop. Teenage girls got super stoked on this because everyone could see themselves in that female character, but and then they could find the boy that they thought was cute, that whether it's the werewolf, the vampire, or the zombie, or whatever the hell it was, and they could feel part of the story. I'm wondering if there was any female association with the pixie. What did you call it?
Manic Pixie Dream Girl.
The Manic Pixie Dream Girl. I'm wondering if that was something where girls were actually wanted to, if there was an aspirational element psychologically or what. I don't know. That's fascinating.
Yeah, it was a big thing in the 90s, which I noticed, and then someone actually gave it a name and it became a trope.
Wow.
So and you saw it in a bunch of 90s films.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Now that you explained it to me, I'm I can think of movies where I've seen it for sure, and it's and I can think of TV series too. And I can think of very, very male dominant TV series where, Entourage, that was a character every season.
I really, the Manic Pixie Dream Girl and I liken it to the magical Negro. That was a trope developed again by white heterosexual writers who really don't know about something, and it becomes mythologized in their mind. And so they invent what they the best possible version of this thing, which they know nothing about. You know what I mean? They know nothing about girls. So they invent this girl who's just this freewheeling, openly liberal sexual, and the girl is pursuing them for some reason. Even though the guy's mopey and depressed and doesn't want to deal with them. And she's no, you got to come with me. Yeah. Similar thing with the magical Negro trope, which is very much
it's the best friend.
Writer's invention.
It's the best friend. In every Tom Hanks movie, he had a black, not every, but I think it was Sleepless in Seattle.
A lot.
Dave Chappelle was there or something. And it was hey, I'm your, and it's I don't think that friendship, I don't know.
It was just a character
friendship
there. Yeah, to show this guy was cool and metropolitan and, not racist, basically.
There's a tokenism kind of thing there, right? If we could say that, I don't know.
I don't know. But the question is, though, going back to this, there's been a ferocious debate as to whether Annie Hall was a Manic Pixie Dream Girl. I'm going to go ahead and say she was not. I think she did. She was a person who was her own character. She did have a life on her own. Woody Allen was not her full focus. You know what I mean? I think she was more of a full character.
I fully believe she was, especially with the singing career and her meeting Paul Simon and Woody Allen having his perspective on it. The guy's trying to get with her. And then somebody's oh no, he likes this girl. He's totally into that girl. This is actually her. So I don't think she was the Manic Pixie Dream Girl. I think compared to him, who was this kind of he was afraid to leave New York. He got physically ill if he went to LA, which I thought was very funny. That she was actually normal, and he was the, you know what I mean? She
I
was
do know
actually just a normal human being with aspirations, with dreams, and compared to him, she may have seemed like a Manic Pixie Dream Girl, but actually, no, she's just somebody with aspirations with, the American dream in a lot of ways was for years to move west, go start a film career. People always went to LA and that's what it was. And yada, 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 where he's stuck in New York. He's the New York guy. He loves New York. That's where he belongs. He gets physically sick if he leaves New York. So I don't necessarily think she's classified as that.
Yeah, I agree. I think she was just a regular kind of self-actualized person. And for someone who was a singer and in the entertainment industry, a lady who was in that field, fairly normal from the ones that I've met. She seemed pretty normal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, she was just kind of making a go at it. She was,
Yeah.
she still had humility in that regard. Like she didn't actually make it, but then, in order for her to achieve her dream, she's not going to be held back by Woody Allen. She's going to go and do that.
Yeah.
And that's why that great breakup scene.
Yeah, we'll get there.
We'll get there.
Okay, so another famous scene, minute 17, the lobster scene. This scene has been cited many times before. It's a scene that perfectly describes what it feels like to be in the honeymoon stage of a relationship.
Yeah.
You're just making lobster, but it is the funnest thing in the world. You're with your significant other. You're comfortable with each other. You're still in that phase where you're exploring each other's personalities, getting to know each other, and everything is fun. Making the lobsters is fun.
There's a danger associated with cooking lobster.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean,
I cooked one last week, by the way.
Yeah. You're from the East Coast, so you know.
Bro, I cooked this lobster, and I saw that you have to kill it before you make it.
Humanely.
I thought I'd be okay stabbing this thing. Horrifying.
Yeah.
Horrifying. I completely traumatized myself. I'm looking this thing dead in the eyes. And here's the thing. I went to get it from the lobster tank, and the guy pulled it out, and it started flopping around like it knew. It knew, man. It knew that it was time. It was going to die. And so I bring it home, and I put it on the cutting board, and he's looking at me, Jer. He's looking at me.
And he's disappointed.
And I got the knife, and the knife is right between his eyes, and I'm like, what am I doing? I'm about to murder this freaking lobster, man. He's like, so I did it, and it was the worst experience.
You felt bad?
It was horrible.
Wow.
Horrible.
But let's dive into that here. Like if you lie down on the couch, as human beings, we've stopped. We don't hunt for our food.
No.
You know what I mean? Like we do not. I go to a grocery store, and a fillet of salmon to me is a fillet of salmon. I didn't go. I didn't catch the fish, gut it, do all that stuff. It's just easily very much. And this is a very old conversation, so let's not spend too much time on it. But still, because of the way you have to eat a lobster, because of the way you have to cook a lobster, it has to be fresh. It can be cooked and sat out for a day, and you can, make a lobster roll or whatever. But if you want to eat a whole lobster, you actually have to put in the work. And it's interesting in this regard because as Woody Allen, who is a Jewish man, he can't eat lobster. So clearly he's breaking kosher.
But is he observant of that though?
No, it doesn't seem like it. But every Jew, whenever we eat lobster, I love lobster and bacon too.
Oh, you do. I know you do.
Oh, yeah, huge fan. But and I've reconciled that because I'm not that religious. But and that's just a kind of it's a very Jewish thing, and he's in a relationship as well, where it's like she wants to eat lobster. She has that little cottage out in Nantucket or wherever the hell it is, like in the Hamptons or something like that. And that's
very, very, very waspy.
Very New York.
Contrast.
Very New York wasp. And so they, he does this. He has probably no clue. He's probably never cooked lobster before in his life. And
can you imagine Woody Allen trying to kill a lobster?
Yeah, but this is the fun. And so what it used to be was you'd throw it into the pot of boiling water and it would die instantly.
Can't do that anymore. They get canceled.
It was seen as inhumane. So now you got to stab it in the head. There's also a myth about hypnotizing it by stroking its face. I don't think that...
You can also throw it in the freezer, I've heard. You can throw it in the freezer and put it to sleep.
But everything spoils the meat, yada, yada, yada. Who cares?
Yeah.
But to kill a lobster, to eat a lobster, unless you're at a restaurant, you're doing the deed, right? And that's something that humans have lost over centuries and centuries. So I think this scene, I don't know if it's meaning to go there, but it seems to me that, especially with you who just did kill a lobster, it's going there for you.
Oh, man. It really took a chunk out of my soul when I did. I didn't think it would, though, because I watched YouTube videos about it. And when I actually had to do it, it was a rough one. It was way worse than I thought it would be. Really, really bad.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Anyway, lobster was delicious, though.
Yeah, lobster's great.
It was freaking delicious.
It is.
So the lobster scene, I think, just a great representation of character. And like you mentioned, he's Jewish, but he's not observant, so he can eat lobster. She is from a culture, a waspy culture, where lobster is considered fine and actually a delicacy. And the fact that the two of them are having such a great time around the preparation of the lobster, I think it's a great example of that honeymoon phase of a relationship.
Yeah.
It really, like, you really felt it, I think. So yeah, tremendous scene with the lobsters. Shout out to the lobsters.
Yeah.
I don't know who ate them, but shout out to them. Okay. Whew. Minute 23. So Woody Allen, just an offhand remark, because a lot of this movie is just talking in rooms, which is very theatrical. So almost like a play. He mentions everything about everything our parents said that was good is actually bad. Sun, milk, red meat, college. How much do you think that is true? I think a lot of that is actually true. The sun is pretty bad for you. Milk.
Nowadays, it's like people don't drink milk. People drink like almond milk, and then even almond milk got bad because it's grown in California and there's no water there.
Drought, yeah.
Oat milk is now pretty hot, but then there's supposed to be things in oats that kill you.
Yeah.
But I always found milk to be weird because who was the first guy that figured that out?
Brave dude, man.
Well, I mean,
real brave dude.
He'd seen a boob and he saw a cow and he was like, it could be the same. But we're the only species that drinks the milk of another species.
Yeah.
Right? So there's a lot of fat in milk, and I don't know, fat these days is considered not to be as bad as sugar. Red meat is still pretty terrible for you. So yeah, I think that is
college though. He was right about college. College is a huge waste of time.
University, yeah. It definitely is. There are some benefits. I went out your way for university, and while maybe I didn't learn as much. I'm not a great philosopher. My philosophy career never really took off. I did learn independence. I learned how to take care of myself, etc., etc., etc. It's like an ease into life, which there's something to be said about that. I don't know if it's worth the price.
That's what I was going to mention. I think in the last 20 years, there was a college bubble, a tuition bubble, where college really did not reflect the value you got out of it. It basically became summer camp for 18 to 22-year-olds. Yeah. And the value, I think, was really the value per dollar spent, I think, was just went completely off track. Yeah. Back then, though, I think it was probably okay back in 1977. But
that shows a lot of foresight.
Yeah. Woody Allen, the prophet, man.
Yeah.
One of the scenes that you mentioned before, and one of the great scenes in the movie, is minute 26. Alvy and Annie are driving in Annie's VW Bug convertible down, I believe, the one of the parkways in New York City. And Annie is driving very fast, very recklessly. The camera is all over the place. Alvy, being a neurotic man that he is, very nervous about it. And then he picks up a half-eaten sandwich and asks her, "Is this a sandwich?" And she says, "Yes." Let's talk about this. So a couple things I noticed. The way it was shot, very reminiscent of the car scene in Godard's films, specifically Breathless, I believe, with Bill Mundo and Gene Seberg in the car. It was all handheld, all very independent, kind of guerrilla style. It created an energy and a nervousness that reflected Alvy's inner life. And while he's kind of freaking out, she's completely fine. She is completely comfortable with what she's doing. But everything about it is a great reflection of what he's feeling in that moment. This feeling of kind of exaltation, this moving forward into something great and exciting, but also a little bit scary, maybe a lot scary. Yeah. And the fact that she's driving, I think, tells something about who's in charge of the relationship as well. Right. And the sandwich being half eaten is I think a peek into her character, in that, as a creative person, she probably has more of an inner life and she's not too worried. Most creative people I know, their surroundings are not very well kept. So what are your thoughts on the driving scene, the sandwich in the car?
I think to really appreciate that scene, the scene prior to it at the tennis club, where he's like, "Oh, do you want a ride?" And she's like, "Oh yeah, I'd love a ride." And she's like, "You have a car?" He's like, "No, I'll take a taxi." And she's like, "Oh, okay, but I have a car." And he's like, "So then why did you accept a?" You know what I mean? That conversation would never happen.
Like that's a great conversation. That's a great exchange.
Yeah, that level of openness would never happen. But it really encapsulated that courtship thing where, you know, you meet a girl and you're like, you'll pretty much say anything or do anything. Like, and
I do remember an instance in my life where I was with a girl on a streetcar and she literally kept missing her stop. She kept missing it just to keep talking to me. And I'm sure I've done things like that myself just to kind of stay with the person. So, yeah.
Right. I've never, because basically I'm a god with the ladies. So, no. But
he's taken, ladies and gentlemen. Don't even try it. All right. Stay out of his DMs.
But the things you would do, like get into, was so funny that it was a Volkswagen Beetle, because especially you have to, always going back to the Jewish undertones of this movie, he's willing to get into that specific make of car, which was very much promoted by the Nazi Party.
I believe Hitler actually drove in one in a parade. Isn't that
yeah, is it they called it the Volkswagen, the people's car.
Yeah.
You know, it is what it is. Oof. But in order to get laid, he will jump into that car with a terrible driver, and that scene perfectly encapsulates that like, what would you do to get with the object of your desire, to be with her, right?
Literally risk his life in a car.
Yeah. And and you know, for a lot of people that's the end game, but he's like, I'll put up with this in order to get what I'm after, right? So it was a very good scene, perfect build. The sandwich I didn't really I feel like that, yeah, you pretty much nailed it with she's creative, she's artistic. She probably does. Most people who are that way will have a thought, be eating, and be like, "Oh, I gotta go do this. I gotta, you know, something will pop up." So, yeah.
Let's explore that for a second. If you were with somebody in that situation and you found a half-eaten sandwich in their car, would you consider that a red flag? Would you put the brakes on at that point? Like, whoa, this person is not in control of their life, not in control of their environment. They've got a sandwich on the floor of their car. I should probably think twice.
It depends how old the sandwich is.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
If she had just eaten it before the tennis game, fine, whatever. If it's been there for a while, you know, I take care of my car. I don't, you know, my car is, I don't allow garbage in my car. I don't mind eating, but
you're a grown up, of course.
There's no garbage in my car.
No, there shouldn't be. Yeah. So. All right. So there you go. That's the sandwich in the car. Whew. Okay, another phenomenal scene. One of my favorite scenes in the movie. Might be my favorite, actually. Minute 29. Annie and Albie are on an incredible New York balcony. Just beautiful. Just the most romantic looking scene you can think of. And they're having a conversation while drinking white wine. She has got the white wine in a wine glass. He has it in what looks like a juice cup. And they're having just a regular mundane conversation, but there are subtitles under everything they say, which express their actual inner feelings about what they're saying. Brilliant. I don't think anyone can argue with that.
Great scene.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on this scene? And do you have any thoughts? I have thoughts on white wine. I personally love white wine.
Yeah.
I'm not a red wine drinker. I love white wine. I love crisp, really cold white wine. And as a man, it's kind of embarrassing.
Really?
I don't know why. Yeah. I feel like that seems to be something that men seems to be there's a pressure for men to drink red wine.
Yeah. They like the big bold reds with the steak like that. I mean, look,
right.
If to somebody this is what I say to that. I always say this because my dad, who's a doctor, there was a period there. Now I think he's loosened up on it, but there was a period there where he was like, "Oh, you have to drink one red wine a day." Like this is going back to that like thing with college and red meat and drinking. You're poisoning yourself. Let's just get that.
Yeah, right, it's not healthy.
It's not one glass of red wine is not some miracle cure. Yes, there are some things in it that maybe will promote clearing your arteries or whatever. Who knows?
Yeah.
I'm not a doctor. I'm not recommending one or the other.
Right.
And I don't think there are many or any health benefits to drinking. But the red wine masculinity thing, a lot of people think white wine is not really wine. There's just as much intricacy and interest in white wine. There's just as much that goes into making white wine. I drink both. I love both. I think there's a time and a place for both. It mainly depends on what food I'm consuming. But if I'm having a drink on a summer afternoon, I'm not pouring myself a big heavy Cab Sauvignon. Like, I'm not doing it. I'm having
Thank you.
I'm having a Sauvignon Blanc. I'm having, something a little, maybe a Pinot Grigio. I don't know. It's all my mood. But there's no that whole masculine red wine thing. That's crap. Like, it doesn't make sense to me, because there's just as much to be. White wine, you don't age it as long. Certain white wines you can, but there's so much difference in white wine. There's so much interesting stuff in white wine that I don't think I don't buy into that masculine red wine. I mean, there is like that's a big, bold masculine wine. It's like, yeah, but it's probably not that good. So I don't always agree with that. This scene is interesting though, because it goes to show that they're both not, when you get established as a person, you get your house, you stop renting, you get wine glasses, and you get purpose-driven wine glasses. Like,
yes,
you
do.
Red wine glasses, white wine glasses. You're not drinking white wine out of a
juice cup
or a tumbler or whatever, or a coffee mug. And when I was
there,
when I was in my apartment and I still loved wine, I'd drink it out of whatever I could put it in. Sometimes out of the bottle. Who cares? But
you're a bad man, Jer.
I'm crazy. I'm a nightmare. But that's just an interesting scene. It just goes to show that they don't care. There's no pretense there. They like each other, and they're gonna drink to drink, and to drink with one another.
Now, do you think her drinking the wine out of a wine glass and him drinking it out of a juice cup has anything to do with their characters or informs them at all? Do you think it's a visual representation of anything?
No, I think it's just an overall statement on, she's single, so she has one wine glass. And if she's bringing company over, they're unfortunately drinking their wine out of a juice cup. Okay.
Those were great nights when you're in your 20s and you're drinking wine out of non-wine glasses. Those were some fantastic nights.
There's some romance to that, right?
Yeah.
Like, you're with a girl, you're having a great conversation, and she pours your wine into a coffee cup. You're not gonna be like, actually, can I have this in a Chardonnay glass? No. You're gonna drink the wine because the wine's gonna get you drunk. It's gonna loosen everything up, and hopefully, once you get enough of that in you, things will happen, right?
Right. Holding hands and kissing is what we're referring to,
right.
I believe. Yeah. Okay. Minute 33. Small scene, but I think significant. Alvy and Annie are sitting in a New York diner. Man, I want to sit in a New York diner. And I think they're actually... sorry, go ahead.
I'm going to correct you. It's a delicatessen.
Oh, it's a deli. Okay. Yeah. Sitting in a New York deli. Alvy, when the waitress comes, says, "I'll have the corned beef." Annie says, "I'll have the pastrami on white bread with mayonnaise, tomatoes, and lettuce." Now, very much so, I think it speaks to the masculine feminine kind of relationship, as he's a dude, give me the corned beef, not very sophisticated, not very thoughtful. It speaks to his character. He likes corned beef. Just give me whatever it is, I'll take it. But Annie, I think, speaks to her character, where she's specific. She wants it a certain way, and which was leveled up and actually taken to a new height when Harry Met Sally. The scenes where Meg Ryan is ordering her lunch with Billy Crystal.
Yeah.
They make a big to-do. They take this scene and blow it up even more in a comedic way. So do you think this scene affected that scene? Because I think it did.
Well, I'm going to tell you, this is one of those scenes, and this is kind of, I've been champing at the bit to really get into this scene, and why I corrected you on diner versus delicatessen. In a delicatessen, a Jewish delicatessen, specifically in New York,
kosher deli,
you would order corned beef on rye with mustard, or corned beef, whatever. If you order corned beef, you're going to assume it's going to come on rye with mustard. And it's a thick stack of corned beef between 2 pieces of rye with deli mustard. And that's a Jewish delicatessen sandwich.
Let's go. Let's go, baby.
What you would never do, especially with pastrami or corned beef, which are very close to one another. There's small differences between the way they're cooked. One, you'd never put mayonnaise on it.
Oh, okay.
We don't. That's dairy with meat. So you're not going to, that doesn't happen in deli. And if somebody does that, they're kind of going to be like, all right, we'll do it. But
ooh, this exposes the cultural differences.
Yeah, we know you're not one of us if you're doing this. And that's what he's getting at here. And also lettuce. A Jewish deli sandwich is literally meat, bread, and a matzo ball soup or chopped liver platter or whatever you're going with it. But so that's part of it. This scene to me, as a Jewish person, highlights the Jew guy taking out the shiksa. You know what I mean? Like that's to the
Jewish delicatessen.
To the Jewish delicatessen, right. And you know it's like when you go to a different country and there's some cultural norms you kind of just have to know, and she clearly doesn't know, and nor does she care. It's not.
So it would be like me taking a Caucasian lady and she orders chai tea.
Yeah,
you know? It's like
it's like
it would be a tell, basically.
It's a tell. And so, but it does play into your original theory, and also like that doesn't negate, when Harry Met Sally, because the same thing's actually happening there. It's just she wants what she wants. She wants a sandwich her way. She doesn't give a crap about the cultural norms, and this is her kind of saying, like, look, I don't care who you are. I don't give anything about your neuroses and all the baggage that comes with dating a Jewish New Yorker. I'm gonna have my sandwich my way, and he kind of is like taken aback by it, but he doesn't say anything because once again, like with the car scene, he's in love. She can do whatever the hell she wants, and that does very much translate to the much bigger Harry Met Sally scene for sure. That scene is a very big kind of Jewish tell, and I've taken my wife, who's not Jewish, to a delicatessen and watched how she goes, but she's kind of like into it anyway. She's like,
did something like this happen to you in your own life?
No, she went with the matzo ball soup. Like she did it. She basically passed with flying colors, and I was just like, yeah, fantastic.
Hey, mazel tov. Put a ring on it, bro. Put a ring on that. Yeah. So at minute 35, this is not actually a food scene, but I did want to call it out. You called it out earlier. Making fun of strangers. The two of them are just observing people and creating backstories for them and like funny names for them, which I do, you do. But in the movie Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, Shane Black actually takes that scene, it's very similar, but again, explodes it more and takes it even further comedically. So a nice showing of the influence of Woody Allen 30 years later, 40 years later, possibly. So.
The film that revived RDJ's career too.
Minute 43, Easter dinner.
Christopher Walken.
Yeah, Christopher Walken. Yeah. Okay. So,
perfect.
So they're having
perfect casting.
Take it away, Joe.
No, I just get excited because he's the perfect casting of like this is like a non-Jewish family through a Jew's eyes, right? Like,
this is a very extremely waspy dinner,
and it's just and this is him. This is a hyperbole. Like this isn't how we actually view it. It's just funny because Christopher Walken, even without, he's barely acting. It's just he's being Christopher Walken. He comes off as like a sociopath, and that
he's got those crazy eyes.
Yeah, and that's like a Jew fish out of water in the middle of a Easter dinner and then how's the ham with the sauce, and he's like, it's great ham. Like he has any context of what good ham tastes like.
And also, previous in the movie, they were alluding to how her, I think, mother or grandmother was very anti-Semitic, so she's looking at him weird. Through dinner.
Just a great. That's what we're talking about when we talk about Jewish humor. We're not Woody Allen's not disparaging the WASP community. They are who they are. but it's just kind of that filter. Like it's just we would find that funny it's like it's an internal Jewish trope that Jews would find very funny.
And I'm glad you mentioned that, because that dinner, as much as you find it funny being a Jewish person, the split screen with the traditional Jewish dinner was absolutely tremendous. I thought, so contrasting and the personalities and the energy of the dinner. Is that true? Did you relate to that?
I mean, yeah, as a kid, I went to many non-Jewish households. Like I had friends that weren't Jewish. I grew up in, diverse environments, but going to like even the simple thing with dinner, they'll have a big glass of milk with their chicken. And to me, that's it's just messed up, but it's normal to other people. And so it's good that I could experience that growing up, and I wasn't just fully only eating with other Jewish kids. Like I would go to different types of people's houses and have dinner, and to have chicken with milk you can't do that as a Jewish person. It's not kosher.
Nope.
But I loved milk and I love chicken, and why not? It works. But it's weird. It's very weird to me. Like I would never do that. I would never have a big glass of milk with my steak dinner. It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I remember going to other people's houses when I was getting I'll come from an Indian family, okay? So everyone's house was weird to me as far as their dinner goes.
Yeah.
I went to my friend Craig's house, and they were having, surprise, some kind of meat with mashed potatoes, and they used a ice cream scooper to scoop the mashed potatoes, which I just blew my mind. I was like, what are you doing right now? That's an ice cream scooper.
That's a cafeteria move.
Yeah. That one blew my mind. I still remember it to this day. And I do believe it was steak, and it was tough as hell, which I think we spoke about this earlier. It was my aversion to steak early on in life. So that probably had a lot to do with it.
Yeah, probably.
But in that dinner scene, there is a scene where he goes off and sees, again, Christopher Walken as the weird brother, sitting on the bed, acting weird, saying weird
just
things.
Being a weird guy.
Yeah, which was, once again, leveled up and taken to the next level in Wedding Crashers, with the brothers scene, with Vince Vaughn stumbling into that guy's house.
There's clearly that was borrowed, because Walken played it very well, and then the guy from Wedding Crashers, who was in the TV series Gotham, he played the Penguin. I forget the guy's name, but he's actually
he's like typecast as a weirdo.
Yeah, but he's a good actor as a weirdo. Like I believe him. He's very good. So good. Yeah, that's a very clearly there was some influence there for sure.
There had to be, right?
It's like the meet the parents scenario, and the rest of the family is just bananas.
This is one I really wanted to get into, is minute 49. This doesn't have anything to do with food, but I really wanted to call it out. Annie talks about a dream she has where Frank Sinatra is holding a pillow over her face and she can't breathe. We got to get into this. We have to. Okay? Because Woody Allen married Mia Farrow. Right?
Yeah.
Mia Farrow had previously been married to Frank Sinatra.
Yeah.
Mia Farrow and Woody Allen's supposedly legitimate son is Ronan Farrow. Have you seen Ronan Farrow's face?
Yeah. Yeah.
It is Frank Sinatra's son.
Weird.
I mean, like, it is definitely Frank Sinatra's kid.
Yeah,
I don't think anyone can argue with that. And
it's not Woody Allen's kid, I can tell you that much.
This is, if Greek tragedies were real life, this is the most solid example of a Greek tragedy in real life I've ever seen in my life. So he's married to Mia Farrow, who was previously married to Frank Sinatra. He thinks his son is Ronan Farrow. Ronan Farrow grows up, is estranged from his father, grows up to be a journalist who is a major part of the Me Too movement, of which Woody Allen's career is taken down by. His son, his illegitimate son, who's probably not his son, takes him down in the most Greek tragedian, mythological way I've ever seen in real life.
It's very Oedipus.
Is it not?
Yeah, without the stooping your mother part. But
well, it's not. But like, come on.
But there's an Oedipal element there, for sure.
But the foreshadowing in Annie Hall, though, this is bore he ever dated Mia Farrow. Yeah, he called his shot.
He did call his shot, and that's amazing. Do we want to keep going on this?
If you have anything to say, I've said what I had to say. You tell me.
No, I totally agree. I'm actually now rethinking everything. But great.
When I saw that, my head exploded.
Yeah, that's interesting. And then there was also a mention of later on. Maybe we'll get there actually. So hang on. I wanted to jump back for a second because I totally did. Just looking through the notes, when we cut to that Jewish dinner, they're eating brisket.
Oh, shout out to brisket, Jewish brisket.
Yeah,
shout
and
out to that.
pastrami and corned beef is a form of brisket as well. Today's recipe will be my Jewish brisket recipe.
Oh, so baby, let's go.
And it's very, very easy to make. It's not like you're not smoking it; you do it in the oven. Very easy to make. So we will definitely have that down in the comments. It's 100% simple if you can find the ingredients, which aren't too hard to find. So totally we will do that for sure.
Oh, that sounds amazing. All right. Do you have any comments on the real life Oedipus myth that Woody Allen has called his shot in has lived out?
No, I'm totally still trying to digest that. But yeah, he totally I totally agree with it. There's another thing he says down the line, which when we get there, I might bring it up. But maybe I won't because it might be too controversial.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Mind blown by that comment. Man, sometimes the universe just throws something at you out of left field, man. Like, whoa.
Yeah, it's a bit cruel in a weird way.
A lot of times it usually is, right? Oh, man. Minute 105. Again, this is not a food base, but Paul Simon hits on Annie right in front of Alvy.
Yeah. They're drinking.
Do you think Paul Simon's a dick? Oh, they're drinking. Do you think Paul Simon's a dick?
I've heard
like Simon and Garfunkel broke up, and I've also heard that it's because of Paul Simon's a dick. I've heard that he's Garfunkel's actually cool.
I don't know. I've seen him in interviews. He seems like a good enough guy.
How about this? Paul Simon, Woody Allen. Who wins in a fight?
In a fist fight?
Fist fight.
Paul Simon.
Yeah, you're right. Woody Allen, I don't think could fight anybody.
Paul Simon's he feels a little more street for
a little bit, yeah, a little bit.
But what I found funny about this movie is like Paul Simon starts loving on L.A. and he's a huge New York guy. So like, there was comedy there. You know, hindsight of having 20 years on this film, there was some funny things in that, and the way Paul Simon did that, I thought was very funny.
Man, can you imagine just going up to somebody and basically hitting on their girlfriend right in front of them like that? What
ballsy.
A douche move. Ugh.
Ballsy.
Yeah. All right. Anyway, Paul Simon's a dick. Come at me, Paul Simon. I'll freaking slap your stupid face.
I never picked a side. Paul, if you want to work with me, want to collaborate on anything, let me know.
Yeah. Listen.
Just down in the comments.
I feel like as a representative of the Paul community, I don't like this guy. I just don't like him.
He's giving Paul
Graceland was amazing. Name. Yeah, Graceland was
album.
amazing. Loved Graceland, but frankly, I think you're a bit of a dick, Paul Simon. I've never met this guy, by the way.
All right.
Anyway.
All right. Bold.
110. Alvy is in a post-production session on a TV show. He starts to feel queasy. His producer asks him if he would like a ginger ale.
Yeah.
This has been like a thing. This has been a meme in the culture forever. I don't think ginger ale does anything.
Does nothing.
No,
Ginger is supposed to settle your stomach, but when you think what's in a can of Canada Dry, there's no way that's settling your stomach.
It's like all sugar.
Pure sugar.
Yeah.
Yeah. You have some
We gotta put this ginger ale myth to rest right here and now.
Yeah. As a podcast, ginger ale does nothing for your stomach. Get some Imodium, get some Pepto-Bismol, whatever. Just don't eat ginger if you have to. Have ginger tea. But if you're not drinking a can of pop, it's not going to do anything for you. Come on.
No. Unless, Big Ginger Ale wants to sponsor this podcast, we'll take your money. We'll take this all back.
We will edit this out if Canada Dry wants to sponsor us.
Yeah. So if Ginger Ale does not sponsor us, F them. Ginger Ale does nothing. If you do want to sponsor us, we completely encourage ginger ale for any kind of illness.
And we will make any outrageous medical claims you want. Ginger ale,
whatever you need.
Ginger ale cures dementia, whatever the hell you want. We'll do it.
Yep. Whatever you need, ginger ale.
Yeah. We will sell out to Big Ginger Ale.
Yes, sir. At 1 hour, 11 minutes in, Alvy is in bed. His doctor offers him plain chicken. Is that something that you think would help at all? No.
I mean,
All right, we're moving
chicken.
on. Yeah.
A cooked chicken breast is probably one of the most neutral things you can eat. But I
Mhm.
like that he puts salt on it and he starts enjoying it. After
Yeah.
after he finds out he's not going to be on the show, he's like, I got to get out of this mess. So clearly, it's part of his neuroses, right?
Oh man, yeah. Okay, so now we come to possibly the most significant food scene in the movie. Again, we mentioned in Goodfellas a great bookend food scene in that film with the Italian sausages. A phenomenal bookend food scene here. 1 hour, 17 minutes in. Albie has moved on to a new girlfriend. It's the exact same scene in the exact same kitchen. They're making lobsters. It is not fun this time.
No.
It's not fun at all.
And she's like, you act like you've never cooked lobster before or something. Like she just,
everything that was cute with everything that was cute with Annie is not cute at all. I have been in this situation.
Yeah.
You tell me, have you been in a situation where you're with someone new and you do a bit or a joke or tell a story which killed with this other person, this other relationship you were in, and this new relationship you're in, it just falls completely flat?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure I have. Nothing comes to mind, but like when you're with somebody and you're dating somebody and you love somebody, whatever, these little inside jokes, these little pet names, these little, oh, you remember that time where we tried to cook this and it went blah, 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 and oh, that was so funny. And then you try to recreate that somewhere else, or you tell that to somebody. It's like when you
and the universe won't let it happen.
Yeah,
the universe won't let it happen.
You tell your friend the story. Oh, we tried to cook lobster. The lobster went behind the fridge, and they're like, "Well, that's stupid. Like, why didn't you?
I know.
Why didn't you just murder the thing and put it in the pot?" And it's one of those.
Like, thanks, Dick. I'm trying to tell you a fun story.
You should have been there moments, right?
Yeah. But as a use of food as a narrative technique and character technique, the bookending of the two lobster scenes,
very good.
Are we going to say masterful on this one?
Yeah, absolutely.
High level, right?
Absolutely.
Which brings us to the last food scene in the movie. 1 hour, 19 minutes in, Annie has moved to Los Angeles to pursue her career. Albie is feeling lost in New York, goes to Los Angeles to chase her down like a psycho.
Yeah.
Meets her at a vegetarian restaurant. He orders very comedically alfalfa sprouts and a plate of alfalfa sprouts and a plate of mashed yeast.
Yeah. Which is just totally a knock on West Coast lifestyle. Like, that's just a New Yorker's knock on a West Coast health. Like, we do it in Toronto. We make fun of BC all the time. Because they're very healthy and we're perceived as not to be. It's New York versus LA. We have that same thing in Canada. It's funny. Like, it's just it's a New Yorker's bash on LA.
Fish out of water, funny thing, like, you bunch of hippies, look at you guys eating this mashed yeast.
Yeah.
And then after he places the order for the gross vegetarian food, has an incredibly awkward conversation with Annie where he tries to get her to marry him. I wanted to crawl into my shirt when this was going on.
Yeah, it was a rough scene.
Oh.
It was a rough scene.
Whew. Yeah. Anyway, any thoughts on the food, Joe?
I mean, I don't know what mashed yeast is. I don't think I'd ever eat it. But that's
okay. How about this? If you were going there to chase down, you're happily married, by the way. Sorry, pre-marriage.
Sure.
Yeah. If you're going to chase down the love of your life, who you are married to, by the way, I don't want any trouble. Would you order alfalfa sprouts and a plate of mashed yeast during this mission to get this love of your life back?
I don't think I'd ever order alfalfa sprouts and a plate of mashed yeast. I don't mind.
What would you order then? What would you order?
Yeah, well, I mean, look, I think he's doing the one in Rome, do as the Romans do. But if I'm going after the love of my life, I think I'm going to want to probably carb up a bit.
Okay.
Get some energy, get my mind right. So I'm
pasta, perhaps.
Yeah, I would eat something a little more hearty, not too hearty. I don't want to, I don't want to be lethargic, but
no,
maybe some fried chicken.
Okay,
yeah.
Fried, a little bit energetic, a lot of fat, a lot of carbs.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know what I would eat if I was going to. Here's the thing. In my experience, once you're broken up, there's pretty much no chance of getting back together that I can think of.
Yeah, I mean, in high school, more so you'd get back together because it was like
No, I'm talking about these are 40-year-old people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like
I'm saying like breakup makeup is more of a young man's game, young
yeah,
person's game.
yeah. That's kind of fun when you're young, but when you're
Yeah.
older, I think people are pretty decisive when they end a relationship.
Yeah, I mean, usually when you end a relationship, it's not on the terms at which Annie and Woody there ended there, like which was so initially looked very personable, and it seemed like the door was open because he even said, and if we want to get back together, we get back together, you know, yeah, but then clearly she didn't want to. But this was her breaking up with a lifestyle as well, right?
Yep.
She was breaking up with that New York lifestyle. She thought that was what she wanted, and she thought there was that cynical creativity that comes in New York was her scene. But then that optimistic, sunny LA lifestyle seemed to appeal to her more, and he can't. Where she goes, he can't follow. And I think that scene really encapsulated that.
Yeah, I think for a sad sack scene, the alfalfa sprouts on a plate of mashed yeast perfectly as a. Do we have a name for that? As a representation or a metaphor? It's not pathetic fallacy, which is what the weather reflects the inner feelings. Yeah. We should have a name for food reflecting the inner turmoil of a character.
Pathetic cuisine. I don't know.
Pathetic cuisine, pathetic fallacy, cuisine fallacy. Cuisine fallacy.
Cuisine fallacy. Yeah, all right.
Okay. So as cuisine fallacy, we got to get the trademark on that, by the way.
Yeah.
As cuisine fallacy, alfalfa sprouts on a plate of mashed yeast as basically a suicide mission to try to get back together with the love of your life.
A lost cause.
I think perfect.
A lost
perfect.
Cause. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, God bless
sure.
All right.
All right.
Those were the... Yeah.
We got through it. We got through it.
We got to do our closing thoughts and awards.
Yeah. Award. You want to start with awards or closing thoughts?
Let's go with awards, then closing thoughts. So, best use of food... Or sorry, no, we'll go with who do you want to have dinner with in this movie the most?
I mean, probably Annie Hall.
You're going Annie Hall, okay.
Yeah. She seems interesting. She seems, she's hot.
I can't say Annie Hall myself. I'm gonna have to go with Paul Simon, the fake Paul Simon character. I got to straighten this dude out, man.
I was gonna go there, but just his hair was so off-putting.
I can just imagine me sitting down and eating with this guy and him being so smug that I just start a fight with him.
Yeah. Well, it's like, almost having, if I were, my second choice would be the guy standing in line behind him at the movies.
Oh, that guy was great. Yeah.
Just so I could enjoy listening to that shit. Stuff. But yeah, no, I mean, Annie Hall.
Annie Hall's great. Annie Hall's great. Yeah. The movie's called Annie Hall.
It'd be a nice date. She's entertaining. No big surprise there. But like Diane Keaton, she's a great actress.
Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
If you were, let's say Annie Hall was 25 and you were 25 and you met Annie Hall at a party, do you think you would have fallen in love with her right in the spot?
I don't know about on the spot, but I would have talked to her.
You would have been enamored by her?
Somebody I would have been interested in. She seems like an interesting person. She seems intelligent, but she's human.
Confident.
Yeah, there's a confidence.
Well, superficially confident, I think.
But that's why I say she's human, right? Like she's putting on facades, but so is, Woody Allen's character, so is Paul Simon's character. They're all putting on some sort of facade, and that's why that tennis scene is so good, because they're trying to be cool, they're trying to play it cool, but they're not. And that's why the subtitle scene made a lot of sense, because it does go to show that when you're trying to meet somebody, there's underlying subtext to what you're actually saying, and what you're saying may not actually be 100% true, or if it's true or false, it's irrelevant. It's you're trying. There's a grand manipulation happening that even you're not trying to do it, but you're trying to get laid, or you're trying to get with somebody or whatever, right? So that's something I found that a good takeaway from the story, and that's why a 25-year-old Annie Hall would be interesting to me. She's human.
Fair. I'm pretty sure I would have fallen in love with her on the spot.
Yeah, it's good looking.
Yeah. Well, no, just her personality was so
Everything.
great. I was into it.
There's a
Yeah.
lot of endearing qualities. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so next award is best use of food in the movie. I think we got to go with lobster. I'm going with lobster.
You're
on this
going.
one. The bookend lobsters.
I'm going with that deli scene.
Oh, the deli scene was good.
The deli scene really showed how culturally opposed the two were.
Yeah. Oh, and also the Easter dinner was damn good too.
It was a great scene too. But the deli scene for me, it hit home for me in ways that the lobster scene, I got it, and I thought it was a great. It's like in Goodfellas, the prison scene is amazing, but there are other food scenes that tell me a little bit more. And the deli scene really told me a lot.
Okay. Closing thoughts, Chair.
Yeah, it's fun to jump back into Woody Allen. Haven't watched a lot of his stuff recently, not necessarily because of any political reasons, just because I haven't. Fun to jump back into this movie because I think both of us kind of hadn't seen it for years and years and years. I think I saw it when I was a kid and probably could care less. But now really had a good chuckle. Like, it was a fun movie, and it was a different kind of rom-com. And I wish movies today would push in ways that this movie pushed, and would kind of would have some cultural references that may be a little bit hard to understand, or even, even could be seen as offensive in a lot of ways. But as a Jewish person, I like to see that. We all like to see ourselves represented in film, and Woody Allen's been a way for us to be represented in film. But I would like to see it with other cultures too. You know what I mean? Like, I'm waiting for the Indian Woody Allen, or I'm waiting for the Chinese Woody Allen. I want to, this is a great window into Jewish culture, a great window into how Jewish culture experiences other culture, albeit a bit. In a lot of scenes, there's a lot of stereotypes happening, but there's truth in stereotypes in a lot of ways too. So I don't know. I think great film, interesting food film, not a ton of food, but a lot to be drawn out of that food. So your thoughts, sir?
Fair enough. I just wanted to say about Woody Allen, whatever again, we've addressed the cancellation. I will just say this, all due respect to the cancelers and the cancellation. I respect your opinions and whatnot. But listen, the man has been making movies for 50 years-ish. 72, I think he started. He's made a film a year ever since then. This is the closing of an era. This is the closing of a career. We have to kind of, I guess, give a eulogy for an incredible body of work and an era coming to an end.
Yeah.
And a Woody Allen movie was something that you could count on every single year for 50 years. Yeah. So moving forward, I really want to see someone, I would love to see someone pick up the mantle and continue, maybe not, of course not exactly, but I would like to see someone pick up the mantle and create content or movies at the Woody Allen level, with the intelligence, the humor, the specificity, and the what was our name for prolificness? Prolificity of the Woody Allen. So I'm putting it out into the universe, and Mr. Universe, Ronnie Coleman, 8 times winner. Please acknowledge what I'm saying right now. Give us a new Woody Allen, possibly a better one if you can. Yeah. Because there was something to these movies, man. There really was. They affected me a lot. They affected other people a lot. And we need movies that have a cultural and intellectual and relevance to get us through these dark days, which I think we still kind of are in. So those are my thoughts on Annie Hall, one of the greatest movies of all time, one of the greatest romantic comedies of all time. Shout out to that. Shout out to them.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that is the end of the Annie Hall episode. Our next episode is I forgot what it was.
We're doing a kids movie. We're going to do a Ratatouille.
We are doing Ratatouille, an unabashedly foodie-centric movie.
Yeah.
So Ratatouille will be our next examination. That might be 8 hours long.
Yeah, we might have to do it in 2 parts.
We might have to do Ratatouille in 2 parts. Ratatouille. You know,
well, on that bombshell, I can't top that.
Hey. Thanks for joining us, ladies and gentlemen. You have a good day and eat something delicious. Possibly Jeremy's recipe. So, God bless. Bye.
Bye.
All right. Good one, Jer.
Yeah, that went well.